Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aariv Modi, and I'm excited to present about how an unexpected bridge between a small restaurant in India and a Knowledge Matters virtual business simulation completely transformed my perspective on business and innovation. Before diving in, let me briefly introduce myself. I'm a junior at Round Rock High School in Austin, Texas, and for the past 3 years, I've been a dedicated DECA competitor, both in role-play events and the Restaurant Virtual Business Challenge. I've consistently placed in the top 5 nationally during qualification rounds, and I even won 6th place internationally at ICTC last year. I'm also active in my chapter's DECA leadership, currently serving as the Virtual Business Simulation Director. So, as you can see, I really am passionate about these remarkable simulations. Outside of DECA, I've always loved public speaking and storytelling, from sharing my knowledge through YouTube to delivering keynote speeches at tech industry conferences. I've learned that the most meaningful presentations aren't just about information, they're about connection. And that's exactly what today is about: how we can connect the past and the future, tradition and technology, and virtual simulations with real world impact. To really understand my journey, let's take a trip to my ancestral home, Jhansi, India. Picture the bustling streets, the aroma of the spices in the air, and at the heart of it all, my grandfather's restaurant. Even at 81 years old, he still runs the place with the same passion he's had for over half a century. Some of my fondest memories growing up were spent right there, helping serve tables, watching the chefs work their magic in the kitchen, and learning the ins and outs of the restaurant business. Not from a textbook, but from firsthand experience. And speaking from that firsthand experience, the food is delicious. So if you ever find yourself in Jhansi, make sure to stop by, and don't worry, it's all in the house. Fast forward to my freshman year, when I was exploring different virtual business simulations offered by Knowledge Matters. Many of them were very appealing. Managing my own stadium, running a fashion business, and handling a hotel all seemed very exciting. But the moment I saw a restaurant-based simulation, I immediately thought of my memories with my grandfather. I had spent years in a real-life restaurant, and now I had the opportunity to run one virtually. An opportunity I simply couldn't pass up. Now, I'll admit, I was a bit skeptical at first because I had used business management simulations in the past, but most felt overly simplistic and disconnected from real-world operations. But within an hour of exploring the Knowledge Matters platform, I was blown away. The level of detail, the realistic mechanics, and the way it mirrored actual restaurant challenges. Well, I found myself drawing immediate connections to my grandfather's restaurant, and I knew this was going to be more than just a game. Now, when you think of a great restaurant, what's the first element that comes to mind? Maybe it's the atmosphere, the service, or even the decorations. But in reality, none of those things matter if the menu doesn't entice customers in the first place. In fact, according to a survey by US Foods, a staggering 83% of customers check the menu beforehand, and 50% decide what to order before they even step through the door. That means if a restaurant's menu isn't appealing, customers might never give it a chance in the first place. One of the simulation's most powerful features is the ability to tailor menus by day of the week. Instead of having a single static menu, I can adapt offerings based on customer demand throughout the week. Business professionals fill the restaurant early in the week, so I focus on premium items like the rack of lamb and beef short ribs. By Thursday and Friday, the crowd shifts to couples, so I introduce date night favorites like lobster ravioli. And weekends? That's all about families, so I make sure we have plenty of chicken parmesan and loaded nachos. My grandfather follows a similar strategy, actually. During the week, he offers quick, affordable lunch combos, known as thalis, for busy office workers. On Fridays, he highlights elegant dishes like tandoori mushroom and butter chicken. And for the weekend, he prepares large family-style platters with kid-friendly items like cheese dosas and mango lassis. By utilizing the power of dynamic menus, both real-life and virtual restaurants can reach a more diverse audience and increase their customer base. Now, every restaurant, virtual or not, faces a common challenge: purchasing ingredients. According to the National Restaurant Association, waste accounts for up to 10% of all food purchases. And this waste can stem from several factors: overestimating demand for an entree, perishable ingredients spoiling before use, or miscommunications in the supply chain. On the flip side, underordering ingredients causes a different issue. If a restaurant runs out of key items, customers may not be able to order their favorite dishes, resulting in a poor experience and a 24% lower chance of returning. These costs can quickly add up, making ingredient management a critical factor in controlling expenses. Thankfully, the simulation provides detailed insights into ingredient usage, tracking daily consumption, shortages, and waste. This data allows for precise inventory adjustments while helping ensure that popular dishes remain available. For example, as shown in the example on screen, we're wasting the vast majority of the fancy vegetables we're purchasing, shown by the 909 in the waste column. Based on this, we should reduce the amount of fancy vegetables we purchase to decrease our expenses. However, even with this data, predicting daily fluctuations in customer volume and food preferences remains a challenge, just like in real life. So while I quickly identified many connections between the simulation and my real-world experience, there was one area that I was completely in the dark: social media marketing. My grandfather had never used it for his business, partly due to his natural reluctance toward technology given his age, but also because he didn't think it held any value. As a result, I inherited the same skepticism, assuming it wouldn't significantly impact revenue. But after several virtual months in the simulation, my restaurant's growth started to plateau. So out of curiosity, I decided to experiment with targeted ads. The sim allowed me to craft social media campaigns, choosing a title, description, and image, then defining my target audience by age, location, interests, and more. Finally, I set a budget and timeline, unsure of what to expect. The results? Nothing short of transformative. Almost overnight, foot traffic surged, revenue climbed, and my staffing and purchasing had to adapt in real time to meet the demand. Over just 4 weeks, my revenue rose by 57% and my profit soared, nearly doubling, all from one change. This was the moment that truly opened my eyes to the power of social media. Not only did this help me perform better in DECA competitions, but it also made me wonder, if social media could transform my virtual restaurant, could it do the same for my grandfather's business? At the time, my grandfather had successfully been running his restaurant while relying primarily on traditional marketing methods. He had billboards in populated parts of the city, flyers on every street corner, and even the occasional newspaper ad. However, after doing more research, I found that traditional media is losing its hold on consumers. A study done by the Pew Research Center showed that daily newspaper circulation has been declining rapidly since the early 2000s. While he was investing in signs and newspapers, his potential customers weren't looking up. They were looking down at their phones. Realizing this gap between traditional marketing and where customers actually were, I knew social media was the key to expanding my grandfather's reach. There was just one problem. To him, billboards and newspaper ads had always worked, so why change now? But I explained that while those methods still had value, social media offered something they couldn't: precise targeting and massive reach at a fraction of the cost. And so, during my annual summer visit after sophomore year, I became his unofficial social media manager. With a small budget of just a few thousand rupees, or less than $100 USD, I launched our first digital marketing campaign. India has over 700 million Facebook users, more than twice the population of the US, making it one of the most widely used platforms in the country. Unlike billboards or flyers, Facebook ads allowed us to target the exact type of customers most likely to visit, based on their age, location, and even dining preferences based on in-app interactions like clicks and views. I used Facebook Ads Manager, and to my surprise, the process was very similar to the simulation. Just like in the sim, I could select an image and text for the ad, set a budget and time frame, and define a target audience. For the restaurant, I focused on people within a 5-kilometer radius, particularly families and working professionals, two of our biggest customer groups. Also scheduled the ad to appear mostly in the late afternoon and early evening, when people were deciding where to eat dinner. Now the results, while not quite as dramatic as those experienced in the simulation, were still shocking. Over an 8-week period, with ongoing tweaks and improvements to our campaign, the restaurant experienced a 38% increase in revenue. Foot traffic noticeably increased, and we saw a surge in first-time customers, many of whom mentioned they had discovered the restaurant through our Facebook ads. All in all, the ads provided us with significant monetary gain, but the lessons I learned and the experience I gained were invaluable. This experience showed me just how much impact students can have, even with limited experience. When I first started using the simulation, I saw it as just a competition tool, something that helped me improve my DECA performance. But as I applied its lessons to my grandfather's restaurant, I realized just how much more it was. This wasn't just a theoretical exercise. It was a tangible improvement to a real business. It proved that young people don't have to wait until they have decades of experience to make a difference. With the right tools, data, and mindset, we can start now. Additionally, virtual simulations don't just teach business concepts. They allow us to test ideas from the safety of the simulation before applying them to the real world. In the past, small businesses had to rely on costly trial and error, but now we can refine strategies in a risk-free space before ever spending a real dollar. And the best part, the data-driven approach wasn't just accurate, it was transformative. This technology isn't just for training students. It has real potential to help small businesses refine their strategies and stay competitive. But the biggest takeaway of all, tradition and technology don't have to compete. They can complement each other. My grandfather built his restaurant on experience, intuition, and personal connections, things no algorithm can replace. But by introducing new digital tools, we didn't erase his legacy, we enhanced it. His business didn't need to abandon its roots to grow, it just needed to adapt. And that's the reality for so many businesses today. The best businesses don't succeed by choosing between old and new or physical and virtual. They succeed by blending both, taking the wisdom of the past and combining it with the innovations of the future to create something even stronger. And hey, if an 81-year-old restaurant owner and a 17-year-old DECA competitor can make innovation and tradition work together, what's possible for the rest of us? Now, I would say that my experience with Knowledge Matters will be of benefit in the future, but as we've seen today, it already helped make a meaningful impact in my life. More than myself, my family and community back in Jhansi have benefited significantly from these learnings. And for that, I cannot thank Knowledge Matters enough. Thank you so much for providing me with the opportunity to speak today and for your time and consideration. Before we wrap up, I'd love to answer any questions you have regarding my experience with the simulation or anything else I shared today.